So thank you everyone for joining this evening for our ANZUK Education and London Early Years LEYF Nurseries webinar for early years in the UK. Early years in the UK is early childhood too, so we will use the word interchangeably. They do mean practically the same thing. But we're really excited to run through the really exciting partnership that we have with the London Early Years Foundation here at ANZUK, which Alyssa and I are representing. And we're really eager to talk about the opportunities available in London, in the UK, when moving over and working in early childhood and early years with LEYF. We're lucky we've got Nick on the call too. So for today's webinar, we'll try our best to keep it towards within 1 hour. So that's 7:30 in Australian Eastern Standard Time, and that would be 9:30 in New Zealand too. So ask questions throughout the webinar as well. Please encourage everyone to post questions into the chat. You can take your camera off, a blank camera if you want, you can put your camera on, but we do request you to keep your mic on mute until we have open time for questions at the end. But Alyssa and I will be monitoring the chat as we go through. So we'll look to get started into it, but just before we fully kick things off, we'll just do acknowledgement of country. So we respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands, the Wurundjeri Wurrung peoples of the Kulin Nation, on which we are meeting today. We recognise their continuing connections to the lands, waters and skies. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and extend that respect to all First Nations people present today. So again, a huge thank you for everyone tuning in. Really excited to see so many faces on the line. A couple of familiar faces of educators, so I think I might have had a couple of conversations with, but good to see a lot of unfamiliar names too. So the goal for us today, what we'll be covering is here. So we'll introduce you to the team, and that will be obviously Alyssa, myself and Nick, and we'll also touch on the other team members through ANZUK and the London Early Years Foundation as we go throughout the webinar. We'll also give an introduction to who we are at ANZUK Education. Alyssa will cover over those in the next couple of slides. And we'll also talk more about LEYF and what the amazing opportunities are for educators who are wanting to travel to the other side of the world and take that big step to move to the UK. We'll dive into what it's like to work within a LEYF nursery. Alyssa will be a great example of that without giving away her experience too much, in the sense of having worked in Australia and then working in early childhood here, now working with our early years team in the UK. So we've got a really great team member to talk about early childhood and early years in all the detail. The process is what we'll work through a lot. There's a lot that goes into moving countries. It's not as simple as jumping on a train from Melbourne out to Ballarat, or from New Zealand from the north to the South Island. There is a little bit more that goes into it. So we're really keen to talk about the ins and outs of what you need to know to move countries. We won't touch on a lot of things in this webinar that is really important in the sense of some of the life admin side of the move and the ins and outs of how to find accommodation. We have other webinars that we'll be able to share with you, and you can join and come into our office to learn about those in more detail. Run through the interview process. We'll talk a lot about the communities and the events that we host. This one here is one that we hosted from out of our London office recently. So between us and ANZUK Education and LEYF, we're very much a community and relationships driven team. So we want to make sure that even if you are traveling by yourself, you've got a lot of people who you can travel, that you can meet, who are doing the exact same thing that you will be doing too. So even though you might feel like you're going over solo, there's a lot of people in the same boat as you. And then any questions you've got, so post into the chat, as I mentioned, and then we'll get back to you throughout the webinar, or we'll cover that in upcoming slides too. And there will be questions time at the end. The webinar is getting recorded, and we will also share the slides too. Amazing. So a little bit about us on the call. So I'll introduce myself first, and we'll pass over to the lovely Alyssa and to Nick. So my name is Tyler, and I'm our overseas recruitment team leader, and I've been working with ANZUK for almost 6 years now. I originally started off my journey as a teacher. I'm a Melburnian, tongue twisted there, and I moved over to the UK in 2016. I taught for a year and then spent 3 years working in our London office as a consultant, and then moved home in 2020. And pretty much since 2020, I've been working still with ANZUK, of course, but supporting educators moving to the UK. So my experience moving to the UK was one of the best decisions I personally ever made, and I'm really passionate about supporting our team and educators who want to make that same journey, because I know how much of a good time everyone will have on the call, that's on the call, if they hopefully make that transition over to the UK. You'll absolutely love it. So love working with Alyssa, Nick and the team, and you're really keen to learn more about all of your plans as well. Fast facts and favorite country. My favorite country is Greece. If you ever get to the Europe, if you get the Europe travel bug when you're going away, you have to factor in Greece. And I was lucky enough to go to the World Cup in 2014 too. Alyssa, talk to us about Alyssa.
Yeah, Grant. Hello, my name is Alyssa, as Nick has said, not Nick, Tyler. There we go. I am working over here in the London office as the early years recruitment specialist. I myself am also a Melburnian. Back in Australia, I worked very closely in early childhood, from being working as a practitioner, as a nursery assistant, all the way up to managing an early childhood centre. So understood the kind of every different position you have, and then kind of got that travel bug, and then moved over to the UK, and have been living in London now for over 3 years, and wouldn't change a thing. Absolutely love it here. Been early years here, worked in nurseries, and now really passionate about helping others kind of make that journey and get into early years over here. I think it was one of the best things I've done, is coming in, really immersing myself in a different kind of way of teaching and education. So that was a really good little fun fact about early years and moving over. A little bit about me, my favorite country. I've got here Italy, but I've literally just got back from France over the weekend, and I may have to update this to France because it was an amazing past few days being in the French countryside. So getting out of Paris, I kind of only knew France as Paris, which is bad for me. But went into some of the regions over the weekend and have absolutely fallen in love with France. But I mean, Italy is good. And I have represented Australia playing AFL in France, which got me a gold medal. So that was a fun little thing. But yes, Nick.
Good morning, everyone. I am Nick from the London Early Years Foundation. I have been in early years for the past 17 years, and a long time ago, I started as an apprentice. I worked my way up to being a senior manager for the London Early Years Foundation, where I managed their central office nursery and also oversaw 9 other nurseries as well, with the support from an area manager as well. Since then, my title has changed to sustainability manager, so I also oversee all of the green credentials within LEYF. I wrote a level 4 qualification, which I teach and mark. I do the carbon footprint, our strategy, all of that fun stuff behind the scenes, but I'm also leading the project with ANZUK UK, because as you may be able to tell, probably not anymore, but I am from Brisbane, not a Melburnian, but I do speak a lot better than I was, because you have to over-pronunciate things here. Water instead of water. But someone said last week that I sound less Australian every day. But I am from Brisbane, but I am leading this project with the wonderful ANZUK UK. 3 weeks ago, I was in Australia with Tyler. We did a whirlwind tour of the East Coast, where we started to set up even further what we're going to be doing and how we can support educators moving over. So very, very looking forward to meeting a lot of you and hopefully seeing you in person in September, October, which we'll talk about later. Oh, spoiler.
Yeah.
My favorite country is Croatia. I literally got back there I went there the week after I came back from Australia on a boys' tennis holiday, and we just played tennis and enjoyed the sunshine. It's cheap, it's cheerful. You could get catch of the day fish, where you saw the boat come in, the fish come off, you eat it straight away. Croatia is absolutely brilliant. I would highly recommend it. Being the sustainability manager, you probably would understand my fun fact, but I am an avid gardener and a plant propagation expert, where I can literally grow anything from everything. So it's a skill I like to pass on to people. Useless skill, but a skill nonetheless. But very much looking forward to talking to everyone about London Early Years Foundation today.
Amazing. Thank you, Nick and Alyssa. So just wanted to hear from everyone else on the call too. So I've just posted into the chat just a quick little poll. So if everyone just wanted to respond within the chat, hopefully that's popped up for everyone. Just a question of where is everyone tuning in from? So obviously I'm from the Melbourne office in Collingwood, which I don't think I actually mentioned before. But if everyone just wanted to post into the chat to everyone where we're all from.
I already saw a Brisbaner.
There's a Brisbane. Yeah, there's definitely a Brisbane. Nice, got a bit of a mix here, which is good. And just to highlight whilst everyone's posting into the chat too, you can actually see Laura, who's one of our ANZ UK educators who has started in the London Early Years Foundation this week. It was this week was her first week. It wasn't last, it was this. Yeah, perfect. I didn't want to get that wrong. Yeah, so she had her very first week this week, and she's from Werribee out in the western suburbs of Melbourne. So living proof of one of the an example of an educator making this very journey from Australia over to London. So yeah, excited to see lots of people from Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. We had a few New Zealanders sign up for the webinar, but none are on the call yet. So hopefully they join a little bit later. But yeah, fingers crossed we can talk through and really give you the insights into the move and an understanding of what an amazing opportunity it is to work at the London Early Years Foundation, and how the educators such as yourselves could be the next Laura on the plane, maybe this year or maybe next. So, and Alyssa's just going to give a bit of insights into ANZ UK and us as an organisation.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. So I guess one of the things is we talk about coming over to London and working in a great early years setting, especially with LEYF. But not only can you work over in the UK, whether it be in London, Bristol, we've got all the different regions here that you can come. We're global. So there's a chance to go to New Zealand. There's a chance to continue working in Australia before your move. And then even when you move back, if you've done your 2-3 years here on your, let's say, youth mobility visa, which we'll touch on a little bit later, you can go, okay, great, I've worked here. I'm now ready to go home, but I still want to work in education. I've learned so much while my time over here. I'm ready to go somewhere else. Or you get that travel bug, you're like, don't want to go back to Australia. I've not been to New Zealand yet. I'm going to go work there instead. The really good thing about ANZ UK is we can really support you in that journey. So we can make sure that there is something for you everywhere you go. I guess our goal is really to make sure we're placing the right educator in the right setting each time, whether that be in London, in Wales, New Zealand, wherever it may be for you. We will always have that 360 support with open communication. Benefit is there's ANZ UK team overseas, always available, and then when that time zone changes, the London office is on, the UK offices are on. So there's always someone that you can chat to make sure that journey is nice and smooth. A little bit more, I guess, about kind of us and why it's important to kind of work and how we support you. A big thing about myself when I went into nurseries or early childhood settings, I guess you find things that you go, I didn't really enjoy this, and I want to make sure that I'm teaching the children and encouraging my values and purpose. And I guess it really aligns well with LEYF, because we really ensure that we're creating exceptional experiences for yourselves. There's no point going into a nursery and going, I'm not enjoying this, I'm not living through my pedagogy, or I'm not being able to really impact children the way I want to. And I guess that's something that we can really support with, whether it be a long-term basis or just that short-term basis. There is that kind of support. So really being great kind of good education. So making sure that you have those relationships and really like empower each other to kind of get there and get through it. So as I said, it is really important that we can support you in that journey. So there's lots of things to find at the UK, but this partnership specifically with LEYF is that our values align. We're here to make sure that if you are moving over here to London, that there is something for you. Whether it be a kind of a short-term basis or a long-term basis, there is that support to really ensure that we're encouraging you to be the right team and have that right attitude there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Alyssa. And yeah, really keen to learn a little bit more about everyone else on the call too. So we just asked where everyone's from, but we'd love to learn what everyone's background and experience is within early childhood / early years education. So just another poll within the chat. So feel free everyone just to post in whether you've got a certificate, a couple of years of experience, or maybe a diploma, maybe you're an ECT, you have a bachelor or master's degree, whatever it is. There are opportunities for all types of educators, which is the exciting thing about this opportunity through ANZ UK and the London Early Years Foundation. So yeah, everyone just feel free to post into the chat. We can learn a little bit more about everyone on the call.
Okay, great. I'm a diploma myself, so I understand you're both coming from one diploma. Yeah, great. Lots of diplomas here. Got a Cert 3 as well. There's so much opportunity for everyone that's qualified.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone posting in. Yeah, we've got a lot of diplomas actually, which is really, really positive. So great, awesome. Well, we'll throw in a couple more polls. So we promise we'll be asking more questions. So and yeah, the beauty of obviously these welcome events, it's just, yeah, like we touched before, just a way to meet people. So you know, going overseas can be a big step for a lot of people, especially if you're doing it solo. About 60 to 70% of people we support do travel by themselves as well. So these events are great when you get there, but also as Nick mentioned, we have, and as I'm living proof of it in the office here, we've got a team based in Australia and New Zealand too. So you will have opportunities to come into our offices if it is local to you, of course. Then yeah, to meet people before you go as well, and learn more about working in early years settings over in the UK. But not enough about ANZUK UK, because I was definitely important we speak about ANZUK UK, but I know everyone wants to hear more about the London Early Years Foundation. So Nick's going to run through the next slides and give everyone a good in-depth overview of what it's like to work in the London Early Years team.
Perfect. Thanks, Tyler. If anyone has any questions as I go along, please just put in the chat and Tyler will flag them up for me, because for some reason I can't work Zoom very well. But my name is Nick, as I just said. I'm from the London Early Years Foundation. We are a charitable social enterprise, and we currently have 40 nurseries across 12 boroughs of London. So if you're not sure what a charitable social enterprise looks like, it means basically that we don't make a profit, we make a surplus. So everything that we do goes back into the business. So this allows our cross-subsidy model to work. So our cross-subsidy model basically means all of our surplus that goes back into the business means that we can keep nurseries in areas of deprivation running. Sorry, in our central office, you may have just had a truck go past, but I could hear it very clearly. But basically, our cross-subsidy model, we can support areas of deprivation with nurseries. So currently we have 77% of our nurseries in areas of deprivation, where that may sound quite alarming to you, but in actual fact, with London being the communities that it is, areas of deprivations are all around us. So for example, our central office, which Tyler has been to, which Alyssa has been to, is in central London. And on one side of the river, it's council flats. We're a very, very lower socioeconomic group. On the other side of the river, the other side of the building, sorry, the main houses go for about 4 million. So it could literally be a street away. So with the cross-subsidy model, we're basically making sure that every single child has access to high quality education. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter where you live, where you're from. It basically, every child deserves quality education. So with our cross-subsidy model, we make sure that those lower socioeconomic areas still have high quality education, because basically the children deserve it. So with our social enterprise model, we're able to keep these nurseries running where cost of living crisis, rents are going up, they would have shut down. So then basically that community's lost a hub. The teachers can no longer work there. The children don't have access to high quality education. It's not fair. So that's why we're here. This isn't new to us as well. We're currently celebrating our 120th year this year. So we have been doing it for quite a long time. So this cross-subsidy model does work to the point of the national average for outstanding. So our version of assessment and rating here. Oh, sorry. Now I'm just reading the questions as they come. Sorry, Tyler. I was like, oh, a question. To the point of 20%, the national average for outstandings is, 20% is the national outstanding. Ours is currently 52 and the rest are all goods. So basically every single child deserves high quality education. So we're proof of that. We make it our absolute goal that every child has access to basically everything that they deserve. If you have questions, please ask. Or if I have weird abbreviations, please let me know as well, because I don't realize I do that as much because I talk a lot. One of the things that we are known for at LEYF is we have an all around everything in early years. We have our own individual pedagogy, which has been developed from theorists from around the world, from curriculums from around the world. We've taken the best out of everything to make sure that the child is at the heart and the center of everything we do. But like I just said, with our areas of deprivation, and some people didn't realize, but some of our, I think 7 nurseries at the moment, we currently do have to have food banks in place, because the parents with cost of living crisis, they can't actually afford outside of nursery. Inside nursery, they know that they can, their children getting 3 square meals a day. But this is an additional support that we can offer now, because we've recognized this. That's unfair, that's not right. So we've supported them there as well. We're quite well known within the UK. So we do have a lot of partners that do want to have more of a social purpose. So we do have access to different things that we can implement within the nurseries when we recognize that this is an issue. The LEYF pedagogy, I won't touch on too much, which I did just say it's based from around the world. Very, very interesting. There's 7 I won't go into it, but it's another thing that we go above and beyond with. So we have the EYFS here, which is very similar to Australian curriculum as well. But then on top of that, we have our own separate pedagogy, because early years is a career, early years is vital for children's development. So we want to make sure that we're making this the best actual impact we can on a child's life. We have action research going non-stop. So if this is something you want to increase your knowledge in, if you have a passion around something, we're more than happy to support you with it. But we work with major universities around the world to basically find out the best way to educate children. We have home learning workshops with parents. Our apprentice program is second to none. It's award-winning. I can't go too much into that because I'm not too sure about it, but I know they've won a lot of awards for the things they do. It's not just an apprentice program, it's amazing. The Global Academy, so we have our own internal learning and development team. So you'll do your normal mandatory requirements training with us, but then also we want to increase your knowledge of early years. So then we also do neuroscience, we do Makaton, we do helicopter story times, dialogic readings, woodworking, outdoor play, risky play, fire pit. We do everything there. We basically want to increase your passion for early years so you can have the best outcomes for the children. Sustainability Green LEYF, another award-winning program run by yours truly. I do know a bit more about that, but I won't get into it now. But we do have sustainability interwoven throughout the whole organization as well. So you'll see it when you come over, hopefully. Staff wellbeing is a huge part as well. We have our own wellbeing group. We have our own inclusivity and diversity group. So if you want to be a part of that as well, we have a world first chef academy as well for early news nutrition, which we've worked with Eat London and the Mayor of London to develop. I won't mention obesity. Tyler knows that inside. We are the highest provider of funded only places in all of the UK. So we currently have 4,500 children, 800 staff, but 33% of those children are funded only. So the parents are able to get back into the workforce. For their own well-being, they're able to have some time to themselves. We recognize that this wasn't the case to some families where parents do want to have 20 hours. I won't start going to funded only, but parents might want to get a part-time job for 20 hours where the national funding is only for 15 hours. So they can't get a job then. So we recognize that, and we want to get parents back into the workforce. We want to help their well-being. So we managed to organize doubling down. So we found a major supporter that we were able to give an additional 15 hours to these families so the parents could get a part-time job and things like that. So these are another things we do as well. And also our SEND codes as well. So we have a SEND manager. We run a level 3 SEND program as well. This is all part of your CPD. Once you're a part of LEYF, you have access to all of these trainings. It is free. You have 8 training days a year. I could go on and on and on, but we do have an hour. If you have questions.
We just had a question come through from Brooke, which is sort of linked to the support and the development, just around having a direct mentor. So for the Lauras and the Haleys of the world, and we did mention Haleys and other educators just arrived, just the mentorship for people to first get there.
You'll have 2 mentors. You'll have one within the nursery, which you can ask as many questions as you want to. You'll have one external to the nursery, not external like the bloke up the road who runs the Sainsbury's. It's mainly someone from a different nursery. But if you want to have a conversation outside your space, so if it might be something you're struggling with, something outside of the actual nursery provision, you have someone else as well. So you have 2 mentors, and then I oversee the whole program. So I do visits. I have Laura and Haley coming to me tomorrow, and we're going to the Tate, the coffee shop. I don't know why I just kind of like the coffee shop. And then I'm taking them to 4 nurseries as well tomorrow. So I'm with you every single step of the way. We also have a welcome team behind the scenes, and we also have the wellbeing group that will do monthly check-ins with you. It's not so much of a huge conversation. They'll just give you a call outside of work, just making sure you're settling in all right. If you have questions, oh, how does the NHS work? I need to get a doctor's appointment. Can you help me with that? Yeah, of course we can. So you have support every single step of the way. There's always someone. And then if for some reason the 7 people I just mentioned aren't there, there's ANZ UK. So then there's an additional 20 people there that can help you as well. So there's always someone to talk to. So if you have questions like that, you always have someone to talk to, trust me.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've talked to Alyssa and Tyler over the last 6 months is
yeah, and that's obviously on the ground support, but in the transition to like all the way from the first call, which you'll have with the team, which we'll talk through the steps in the next couple of slides, you'll really see that there is support mechanisms in place the whole journey. So yeah, great question there, Brooke.
Perfect. So this is just one of the things that we use for every single presentation. We really have the child at the heart of every single thing we do, and it just cascades down from there. So our nurseries are hubs of the community. When I show you the day in the life, I'll show you how I mean we are hubs in the community, but we make sure our staff are supported, our parents are supported, the local community around the nursery is supported, and society in general is supported. But you learn more about that as we go along as well. Otherwise, we would be talking all day. So our mission is to change the world one child at a time. It doesn't matter who the child is, what background they're from. Every single child deserves access to high quality, affordable early childhood education and care. So that's one of our models as well, is accessibility. Everyone deserves high quality education. Quality, just because you're in a lower socio-demographic area doesn't mean you shouldn't have access to high quality education. So we make sure quality is at the heart of everything we do, and affordability. So with the cross subsidy model, 77% of our nurseries are in the lower deprived areas, but the 23%, there we go. They're in quite affluent areas. So they are able to support the nurseries where we can provide additional funding for them. The parents know about this. This is part of their social enterprise. Parents who do have access to more monetary means, they want to have more of a social impact. So our more affluent nurseries, they support the other nurseries, and the parents know that as well. So they love the fact that they're able to support someone as well. Next slide. There's old Catherine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Wheels. Yeah, I can send you the whole overview of Catherine. She's doing my first 5 years count program at the moment, where she wants to uplift the standing of early childhood and the outcomes for children as well. But she actually came to one of our nurseries and served breakfast with us. So we're on quite a few behind the scenes committee as well. We work with the DFE, which is the Department for Education, to develop their strategies and things like that as well. So yeah, you'll hear a lot about Catherine.
Yeah, I think it shines a light on the importance of early childhood education, which I know everyone in early childhood really knows, but I think seeing someone of the level of the Princess of Wales visiting LEYF nurseries and being actively engaged in that space, it really does shine a light on the social impact that the LEYF team and the LEYF communities are having. Just wanted to throw back to a poll as well. This one's obviously going to be a day in the life of a LEYF nursery, which we'll work through, but just wanted to chuck in an extra poll just to understand a little bit more about everyone on the call. So who has been to the UK before as well? So obviously we're talking a lot about a place which is on the other side of the world. So just wanted to post into the chat if you've been to the UK before, or if this is a country which you're yet to visit. And due to pandemic factors as well, a lot of teachers recently, many haven't even left Australia before too that we're supporting. So if you haven't been, don't worry, that's completely fine. I've got a bit of a mix there as well. Everyone's been actually, sorry. Cool. All right, well, everyone just feel free to continue to post into the chat. But Nick, did you want to talk about what it's like working in a LEYF nursery?
So one of the main things, your day in the life in a LEYF nursery will be very similar to what you're doing now. A lot of people I saw on the chat are currently working in early years. It's very, very similar. But the main big difference I found when I moved, this is my 6th year living in the UK. The main thing that I found is being a part of your community and your trips and outings. So all of our LEYF nurseries do trips and outings into the local community every single day. So they are very, very much embedded within their local area. In the sense of being a teacher or extending your children's learning, London is second to none to the experiences you can give your children as well. So with the trips and outings, it may be something as simple as just going to the local park, or if it's Chinese New Year's, we took the children, I was at a nursery and we took the children to Chinatown and we watched the dragon dances. And then we asked the people around there what it meant to them about Chinese New Year. I've taken children to the zoo, the Natural History Museum. We had the police horses come, then we went behind the scenes and we looked after the police horses for the day. The possibilities are absolutely endless when you have London at your doorstep. You can get on the bus, you can get on the train, you can go on the Uber boat, which goes up the center of central London, and you can go to the outskirts in half an hour. Absolutely amazing things. If you want to extend your children's learning and interest, it's at the drop of a hat. So that's one big thing that I know Laura and Haley are already looking forward to as well. But the rest of the day will look very, very similar. You'll have your morning breakfast with the children, free time. You'll usually set up your provocations the night before, circle times, morning trip or outing, and then afternoon trip and outing as well. You eat with the children, sleep time. That's the normal part. But the main thing is the trips and outing. Some days we give the children the map. We give children the map of the local area, and they create their own adventure and they follow their own map, and we just follow the children where they go. It's absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait for some people to experience it, because the first time, I will admit, I was like, oh dearie me, this is very intense. And then the second time was amazing. The third time's even better. Than fourth time, I'm like, oh my, I need to do this every day. So as one of the senior managers, I'd take children out every day for my own sanity, to be honest. Your usual day is a normal contract. So you'll either, all of our nurseries are open from 8 till 6 every day. You'll either do an 8 till 5 and you'll do, or a 9 till 6, and you have a 1 hour break in the middle of the day as well.
So if anyone has any questions as well, feel free to type them into the chat. And if you're curious around what you do in a nursery in Melbourne or in Geelong or the Central Coast, whatever it is, definitely now's the time to post into the chat. And we've got one from Tommy, actually. Alyssa, maybe, or either Nick, either one of you might be best placed to answer this one. So the biggest difference between working early childhood in Oz and the UK? A great question, Tommy.
One of the biggest differences is on your screen at the moment, Tommy. Very good segue there. Is the ratios in the UK are very, very different. So under 2-year-olds, it's a 1:3 ratio, 2 to 3s is a 1:4, and the max is a 1:8. Some organizations, you can, if you have QTS, which is qualified teacher status, you can do a 1:13 ratio for your 3 to 5-year-olds. We don't do that. If the ratio is 1:8, we stick it to 1:8. But it's saying that there is the room capacity, and your Ofsted registration will dictate how many children you have in the room. So 1 to 8 sounds brilliant, but you could also have 48 preschoolers in that room. The room is absolutely massive though, and you would have, oh gosh, more math, you'd have 9 teachers in there as well, even with babies as well. I think the nursery I ran, the central office nursery I'm in right now, we had 2 baby room, capacity 9 upstairs and a 15 downstairs. So upstairs I still had 5 teachers because there was 3 for ratio bound, there was 1 for lunch cover, and there was 1 so we were able to go out every day. Downstairs with 15, I think I had 7 teachers in there as well. So it does sound quite daunting, but you do have the support and the backup behind it. Did you have any other differences, Alyssa? That was the biggest thing when I first was learning the ratios, like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was I had a class of 4 children, which was luxury, I swear, because in Australia I had 25, and going from 25 to 4 children, I was like, oh, this is nice. But I had another educator in there with me, so there's 2 of us for 4 children. So you were just able to engage and really inspire the children a lot more than kind of what you were able to do in Australia. So I do agree that the ratios is probably one of the biggest things, but also the outings. As Nick touched on before, in Australia, we'd go on about 1 excursion, I guess, a month, I guess, maybe not even. Whereas here you go at least once a day, if not a week. So there's always something to do. And I mean, you get to learn about London while working, I guess. So I was able to go to the local post office with the children and be like, oh, look, I've not been to the zoo, I've not been here yet. But the children go, so you're working while also discovering London for yourself. So that was a good little difference. There's a few other questions that have come in. Most nurseries have to stick to ratio. You can't work over ratio. It's a legal requirement to stick to ratio here. So there will always be the certain amount of educators. But some do work, like for example, I had 4 children and we had an extra educator. So technically we were over ratio. So there was 2 educators in there. And then a question here from Brooke. So is nursery the equivalent of a long daycare? Yes, it is. But obviously you do get your sessional kinders as well. So you've got your term time kindergartens. I know Nick can probably speak about this as well. But as an ECT, I know in Australia you are very much put into kinder rooms, but you can work in any room here in the UK. Maybe like in a room leader position, but it would be, I guess we'll touch on that a little bit later, but it does mean you can work with younger children.
We do have term time only nurseries, Brooke. Sorry, I would recommend experiencing Europe to its fullest. Term time only nurseries means you have the 13 weeks off, which are the busiest time for travel. So I found the first time I was here, I did term time only for about 6 months, and when I wanted to travel, the prices tripled, and every single British person was where I was going. So it's the one big thing I mentioned. And also, can an ECT work in a nursery in a younger room, like a 2-year-old room, or only with kinder age children? It depends on what you would like to gain experience in or your passion in. I know one of our educators just started as bachelor qualified kindergarten teacher for the last 5 years. She wants to gain experience in baby's room, so she's in a baby room. So we really talked you through it. The ratios are amazing. That's very, yes, Caitlin, they are. Does everyone work 9-hour days? And is this a 5 days a week? Yes, it is, Indy. The centers are very big. Our centers range from 20 places up to 80 places is our biggest nursery. Our biggest preschool room, I think, is 35 to 40. That was just an experience I had at a different nursery. And sorry, someone just knocked on the door. Our nurseries aren't generally that big. And you also have the additional spaces. So I used to have 5 rooms for my space. Yeah. Does it differ from, I think Alyssa just covered that. Do we require programming and journals online? Yes, we have put it to the absolute minimum. We would rather you spend time with your children than being on an iPad. So we do the statutory developmental requirements for what it is, and it is very, very minimal, but you also have the behind the scenes access to that. So it's very, we'd rather you be with the children than on an iPad. Is it positions like room leaders and assistant educational leader? Yes, we can. We will talk about that later. All right, everyone's up to date with the questions. Sorry.
Amazing. And just one of those points too, just to touch on that briefly, Indy, we will talk about the opportunities for some part-time roles as well. Like we would encourage full-time 5-day-a-week roles, but there are options for part-time work, which might link into this slide, which Alyssa's going to work through in some of the motivating reasons why people want to move. Travel maybe being one of them. So Alyssa, do you want to run through the next couple of slides?
100%, great segue.
Yeah.
I guess the part-time to full-time potential really does move into the why move to the UK. I mean, I work full-time and have just spent a long weekend in France. Like, there is that flexibility just to get on a train for 2 hours and go to a European country. One of the great benefits of coming over here. Not only do you have the life experience of travel, you meet so many great people, whether it be in your nursery, you create a community there, you create a community outside of there. So you join sporting teams, not even sporting teams, just sitting in the local pub, you meet the person next to you. Turns out that they may be from the Central Coast where you grew up, and you go, okay, great, have a chat with them, or they're from York. You just really, really get to know people. So, and I touched on earlier, we have those events. You have the ANZUK events where you get to meet other likewise teachers, like-minded teachers, who have that similar experience. So you can kind of have that real good international community, as well as your non-international community. So meeting your Europeans, your Brits, and understanding where they've come from and their journey. Not only do you have this great experience of, okay, travel, friendships, all this new life experience, you have such an amazing personal growth. So basically, I moved over here and I have become a whole other person. As the classic, oh, I moved to London and I've changed. But it very much is. You just step out of your comfort zone and really develop so much more confidence and just gain that experience. So that's all great as a personal well-being. But let's say you've had your time here and you go back to Australia, having on your CV that you have worked in the UK as an early childhood educator is massive. We have so many educators that do return once their visa has kind of done or their time here is finished. They move back and get snapped up instantly because it's such a great opportunity to have UK experience on your CV. Not only that, you have great references from LEYF. LEYF is obviously a well-regarded organisation that's kind of well-known around the world, and also supported with your professional development. So there's constant availability to learn and grow. So there's a whole kind of 360 element to making a move over here. And honestly, one of the best things I've personally ever done, and wouldn't change it for the world. But yeah.
Most people have that same message. Alyssa and I speak to, and Nick too speaks to people moving literally every single day, and not too many people regret the journey. So yeah, definitely, if you're looking at the map now and you're thinking, well, that's unbelievably exciting, I want to end up near one of these dots, which is the LEYF nurseries. Yeah, definitely rest assured you will have an amazing time. And I think so, you on this one, sorry, apologies.
Yeah. No, you're right. So as Nick said before, there's 40 nurseries. These are the locations of most of the nurseries. So I live Southeast London. I'm very biased for Southeast London and would tell anyone to move Southeast London. One of the best places in London. But the bonus thing here is there's so many central locations as well. So let's say you want to be really in the hustle and bustle of London, you can kind of have that opportunity to work directly there. Or you go, you know what, I'm from a town in Australia that is green and lush, and I want to work somewhere that is green and lush. You've got that opportunity to work in the centre that is a little bit further out, but still very well connected to going into the West End or going into the town, and understanding that. So you have the best of both worlds, and that opportunity to really get that support for what you're after.
And that was one of the questions earlier. Can you preference where you want to live? Definitely. So like if you've got a pull factor for North London as an example, we'll be working with Nick and the LEYF team, understanding what opportunities are in those nurseries. And if there is workable positions available with the dates that you want to align, which we'll literally touch on in the next slide, the goal would be that we hopefully can accommodate that. A lot of the vacancies at the moment, the need is in the south of London. But yeah, I can't remember who asked that question, apologies. But yeah, definitely just let us know what your preferences are, and we'll do our best to work around those as much as possible, which links to the next poll question, actually. Where in London or else in the UK, perhaps? Obviously, we're very much focusing here on London because of the London Early Years Foundation. But yeah, if anyone just wanted to post in the chat where they wanted to live, that would be amazing. Battersea, Tommy, is an awesome place. Yeah.
Lovely.
The new power station. Oof.
New power station,
yeah.
station. Yeah. Really well connected as well. Taylor just sent a direct message to saying she's not sure where yet. Central London for Yvonne. Alyssa touched on it before. London I lived there for 4 years myself in East London. It's truly an amazing place. You can be right in the thick of the hustle and bustle and then travel for 20 minutes on a train and have a really relaxed lifestyle and sort of choose which one you want. So yeah, definitely we've got like so many resources on finding accommodation, where to live, best places to live. We're really supportive in that process because we understand it is a really big question for people. So yeah, definitely in our other webinars and the part of the process, we talk more about how to actually find accommodation. So those resources we'll share as all part of the follow-up and as part of the process with ANZUK.
Awesome. Transport links as well across London. You could live quite far out and be on a direct train into central London for 25 minutes.
100%. We could do another map.
Southeast London as well for the win.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for the Southeast. So I still head up our Southeast London schools team. So it is a beautiful part of the city if you want to live there. But this doesn't have to. Yes. Yeah. And you might be thinking, when can I go? Of course. So we're talking, and the next few slides we'll talk about the work options. We're about 15 minutes to go, which will work. Not smash through the last few slides, but we will make sure we move them properly so everyone finishes on time. But this is when you can go. So we've got different cohort dates where we're promoting educators to consider trying to arrive within these different cohorts, which would be in July, October, January, or April. But if you're thinking you want to go in August or September and do a bit of travel, that's absolutely fine. If you want to start a little bit earlier, that's okay too, or later for these dates. The idea for this is that you can move over with a cohort of other educators from Australia or New Zealand and be supported and have a learning and induction week with the LEYF team, making sure that you're meeting other people really easily, and that support mechanisms are all in place. They will be in place if your dates don't align with these numbers here. So July coming up, October later in the year, and then into the new year as well. There's other cohort dates around these different windows. So we appreciate it's a big move as we've touched on, and it might be too soon this year for whatever reason. That's totally fine. Next year might be the one for you, 2024, maybe even be 2025, who knows, which is crazy to think that's only about 18 months away. But just speak to our team. We'll talk through the steps in the next couple slides, just around how we can turn these dates into a reality, essentially. And yeah, really exciting that there's lots of different opportunities across the calendar year in the UK. Work options, what to do when you're there as well. So let's see, you cover this one.
Yeah, I'll go on. Yeah, so as we've mentioned, we obviously have these permanent contracts with LEYF, which the 1 to 2 year contracts. We'll kind of talk about the benefits in, I think, the next common slide. If you do kind of sign on to the permanent contract, the benefit of this is, I know someone asked earlier, if you have a guaranteed job before you leave. Yeah, you will. So there's an opportunity to interview, which we'll touch on again in the later slide, in a process of having that job opportunity before you move over. So with this permanent, so the 1 to 2 year contract, you get the full benefit of the ANZUK and LEYF relocation package, which is pretty nice. And then let's say you're not sure of your full commitments just yet, or you've only got a certain amount of time that you can be in London for. There is that opportunity with that short-term contract. So a contract with LEYF Nursery, which will be a 3 to 6 month. So you're still involved with the nursery and involved in the community, but you won't get as many benefits as a relocation package would. It does just offer you that like short-term flexibility. Let's say you aren't looking for that contract, you are just doing that day-to-day work, like supply teaching or cover, like in Australia. We do still offer that. So you'd be employed with us, ANZUK. We have an app that lets you put in your availability. So let's say you only want to work Tuesday and Thursday this week, pop it on the app and we can get you into a day-to-day booking. So it gives you opportunity to move into contract roles instead of kind of that like 1 to year.
Awesome. This slide here, just to introduce Nick on it as well, it might be a little bit confusing at first, understanding like, how does my certificate of qualification recognise over to the UK? So we've got a lot of support in place to assist with this too. It is part of the relocation package, as Alyssa mentioned. So Nick will just run through what your degree or your certificate of qualification, how that translates over to the UK. Try and make it as simple as possible, because it can be a bit complicated when you actually apply for it.
If you have an Australian Certificate 3 or diploma, it is the equivalent of a UK level 3 here. If you have a bachelor, or if you have a foundation degree, it's the equivalent of a level 5. We haven't put that on there because it's not so much recognized anymore. If you have a bachelor, you would be a level 6. If you're a master's, you're a level 7. So we're recruiting currently for all the level 3 positions. So if you have a certificate 3 or up, you'll be eligible for the program. But I'll touch base on how we actually do the confusing part of this in the next slide.
There you go.
Just like that. It's like we've done this before, Tyler.
Yes.
And when we were trying to develop the relocation package with ANZUK and LEYF, with all the expats, we had all of our heads put together and just tried to think of the most difficult things we experience when trying to move over and how we can make them simple. One of the things was finding a job as soon as you get here. It's quite stressful. You have to do DBS checks. You have to do all the behind the scenes things. So we said, well, let's start interviewing online or in person. So, yep, tick, you'll have a job before you arrive in the UK. So that's one less stress thing off you. But you're from a different country, so you need your qualifications converted as well, because it would be recognized here, but because it would need to be converted from ECTIS and Ofsted in case we get Ofsteded. Yep, we'll sort that out as well for you as well. Bank accounts, we can support you with that. National insurance, we can support you with that. DBS checks / police checks, we can support you with that as well. Tommy asked a question about accommodation, which I'll touch base on in a minute, but we wanted to try and make it as easy as possible for you. So when you come over here, you walk into a job, everything is set up for you. I remember my first job, I had to wait 5 or 6 weeks for my DBS to come back, so I couldn't work for those 5 weeks as well. Sounds, oh no, you're in London, you had nothing to do. Oh, woe is you. But it's if you're not working, it's expensive. But once you start earning, it's not. So we sort all that out for you. As soon as you go through the interview stages, you do a pre-screen with ANZUK and LEYF, and then you have a formal interview online with myself and the area manager for the nursery that you would be going to. And then if that's successful, you'll be offered the position and your contract and your start date will be sent. But then we start the compliance things with ANZUK and they start converting your qualifications, doing your DBS checks, your references, all that behind the scenes stuff. We have an accommodation partner, LHA, because depending, like Alyssa said, on where you'd like to live, these LHA hostels, they're not your typical hostel with 14 beds in one room. They are 1-bed en suites or 2-bed en suites, so you could share with someone. They're quite affordable as well for the week. And the longer you stay, the bigger discount you get, and it's 1 week's deposit. You give them 1 week's notice, then it goes if you do find a share house to move out into. So instead of working a 9-hour day and going to sleep in a dorm, you'd have your own room. Things are very essential. When you arrive, it's not just, all right, good luck, see you later. Like I said before, you have your mentees, you have your week-long induction with our L&D team. You have all the events from ANZ UK and LEYF. When you're here, you are supported as much as you were before and much as you are after as well. So don't stress too much about that. But the L&D team will have you for the first week. So you're not just thrown into the nursery, but they explain all the ins and outs of early years in London for you. And then ongoing support, you'll have access to all the CPDs, your workplace, you'll have your buddy mentor. We have monthly catch-ups. The world's your oyster pretty much as you'd like to. If you want to be part of action research, if you want to do more study, we can help you with all of that as well. Did I miss? Oh, if you stay for the full 2 years of your contract as well, as a thank you, we will pay for your flight home as well. So a bit of extra money in your pocket, if you can save well, that last flight home, we will pay for you. So if you want to finish in London, go traveling for 6 months, we can arrange that as well. But you'll have your flight paid home for you.
Yeah. And
did I miss anything?
No, not at all. Just more to highlight the total £500 relocation bonus too that everyone would have an offer to themselves. So that's definitely something to think in mind. Apologies if any Kiwis jumped on the line too. We don't have Australia or New Zealand there, so apologies. I know it was mostly Australians at the start. So New Zealanders will cover that as well, but it's just not correct there on the slide. I think you covered pretty much everything there, Nick, to be fair. I know there was a couple of questions earlier on the visas, which we'll work through.
So there's one other thing I didn't mention, Tyler. There's also a refer a friend bonus as well. So if you're successful in a LEYF contract and you refer a friend, you get £500 and your refer a friend gets £500 as well. It's a bit of extra money in your pocket if you have a friend you want to move over with as well.
We need to put that on the slide, Nick. I don't know why that's not on there. So
I don't know why I just thought of it then as well. Yeah, perfect.
I know that we definitely missed that, but yeah, that's definitely a good referral bonus. In ANZ UK we have £100 referral bonus too, which obviously does add up if you know someone who you want to pass on that good word for. So visas, this is a part of the support process that we have at ANZ UK to be able to assist you with the visa application process. So essentially for everyone who's an Australian, New Zealand or Canadian citizen, there are a few other nationalities that are eligible for the Youth Mobility Scheme visa, but these are the major three. Essentially, in a nutshell, you can apply before 6 months when you want to go. And we have a visa support team who can assist you with the visa application process that can talk you step by step through this. One of the biggest things to note, it's currently under 31 working holiday visa, but it's changing to under 35 working holiday visa because the Australian, UK and New Zealand governments reached a free trade agreement. So on June 29th, it's changing to the under 35 3-year visa for New Zealand nationals and also English nationals, not just English, British and UK nationals coming down under. But for Aussies, if you're over 31 and under 35, you'll soon be able to apply for this visa. If you have any sort of further questions around it, then we can assist with the process, as I mentioned before. Costs about £1,200, pretty straightforward visa to apply for. And we, like I said, we'll talk you through all that as a part of the process. Ancestry visa, if you have a British grandparent, which some people are lucky to have, you can apply for the ancestry visa too. So if you aren't eligible for this, you may be eligible for the ancestry visa. We also have another, the UK government have recently announced a HPI visa, which is called a High Potential Individual Visa. So if there's any graduates from the University of Melbourne or the University of Queensland in the past 5 years, you are eligible for this visa here. And then the other options are a partner visa or a spousal visa. If you're thinking, I'm not eligible for any of these visas, we still want to have a conversation with you because we're exploring the pathway for the skilled worker visa, which is essentially a sponsorship visa where you work directly through the London Early Years Foundation. These visas here, they're unrestricted visas in the sense you're not tied to a specific employer. You could obviously work for ANZ UK doing casual work, or you could work for the London Early Years Foundation in a contract role. But the skilled worker visa currently isn't an option, but we are exploring it. So watch this space and still keep in touch with us. And if we can update back on this one, we will do so very promptly. As a part of the follow-up, which I'll talk about in this very next slide, and we'll be able to get you all set up with the initial contact with our team here. which would be with a team member from Australia or New Zealand. And that will be having an initial call. And this will be part of the follow-up, which will have an email with a few links that you can click on to my calendar, my colleague Liv's, my colleague Sid's, or Claire's, who work across our different offices in Oz and New Zealand. Once we've had that call and we've learned more about your plans, we've got a CV back from yourself, we'll put you in touch with Alyssa or Joe. Joe is Alyssa's colleague on our UK early years team from London. And the two amazing individuals, Alyssa and Joe, will be there to support you once you're, supporting your transition to the UK. What we'll then look to do then is booking an interview with the London Early Years Foundation. And you can see here there's two options, which is exciting. So we've got one option, which would be to do an online interview, which can take place from today onwards, really, whenever you like. Alternatively, if you're wanting to go maybe end of next year, or who knows, maybe 2025, or you just want to think about it a little bit longer, the London Early Years Foundation, Nick included, and some other team members from LEYF will be coming to Australia to do in-person interviews later on in the year in September/October. Data to be confirmed, but if you wanted to meet the team, we'd really encourage that as well. So these two options are part of the process. We'll give feedback, and then all things going well after that first interview, you'll have a final stage interview with LEYF itself. So there are a few steps there, but the idea is that you can get to develop a relationship with our team and then go through the formal interview process with the London Early Years Foundation. And then you get cleared for work, and then you can start with LEYF. And that might be at any one of these different cohort dates, or it might be at a date which isn't listed within the cohorts as well. Fabulous. Well, everyone, we're getting really close to the end of the webinar, which is great. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in. We do have a couple of questions, which we'll get to in a second. And yeah, the biggest goal for us is just supporting your early years journey across the globe. So Alyssa touched on it earlier. We've very much mentioned we are a global company in ANZ UK education. So we want to make sure that you're supported in Australia and New Zealand before you go, and then want to stay connected with you on the flip side back. We can continue to support you in your journey. So it's very exciting that everyone's on the call with an interest to move. Hopefully from today, we've created a pathway which is tangible for everyone to understand, oh, this is something I could do, or you might be ready to tell a friend about it as well and spread that word. So just finally, a few other reasons which we would have touched on most of these things, just if you're thinking, I'm not sure yet, or I've still got a few things I want to think about. This is just a little one pager of some of the extra bits of support that we can provide. I'm posting into the chat our ANZ UK Facebook group for group-bound educators. So everyone jump into that Facebook group and click join if you like. We're very much a community and relationships driven team, which we've already spoken about. So we want you to come to events, meet people, have fun, jump out of your comfort zone a little bit. Everyone is really fun at these events and in these Facebook groups, and yeah, pretty much everything on here we've already run through a fair bit. The info packs is a good one too. Like, there's literally anything you can think of about moving countries, we've got it covered because we've been doing this for so long. From bank accounts to accommodation tips and everything in between. So we're really close to the end now, so much so that we're going to go for question time. If everyone, we've got a couple of questions which we'll answer, but if anyone wanted to take your mic off and just ask away, feel free to. I promised at the start of the webinar, Alyssa, Nick and I, we won't bite, but if you wanted to post into the chat, that's totally fine too. Let's smash in a couple of these questions. Hey. So Taylor, if we have partners, are they allowed to be in the accommodation as well, or would we need to organise? You would be able to stay with your partner in that accommodation. To link further into that question, that sounds like a short-term accommodation question. Longer-term accommodation, most people share house in the UK, and if you do go over a partner, it is great because you usually will, or practically every time, get charged a lot. You'll have a lot cheaper rent because you're getting the double room essentially. So I lived in the UK with my partner for the 4 years, and we got a pretty good deal on the rental front. The next question from Brooke: how do visas work if I have a dual citizenship, which is Irish and Aussie? Lucky the Irish, Brooke, so an Irish passport gives you the right to work within the UK. Unfortunately, if there's any other educators who have an EU passport that's non-Irish, unfortunately, you would have to apply for a working holiday visa, the Youth Mobility Scheme visa, or the ancestry visa. So post-Brexit, the EU isn't eligible for working holiday visas except for the Irish. So what now? So Yvonne, what now if I'm interested? What is the first step from now? Amazing question. So essentially it will be our team sending the follow-up email. It will come into your inbox tomorrow, if not Friday at the latest. We just need to get this webinar live onto YouTube and Vimeo. Once that's done, you'll have a link to my calendar or my colleague Liv's. Yvonne, I feel like Yvonne, I might have dropped your line before. I have this funny feeling you're based in Melbourne. So it'll probably be my colleague Liv. And we'll have an intro call and then, yeah, hopefully go through the interview process with yourself. Sydney, oops, me and my colleague Sid, sorry, Yvonne. Cool. So is there any way to get more information on the costs and such as the PD opportunity? So yeah, so part of the follow-up, Caitlin, that question on PD and cost of living, etc. That's all a part of the process with us. So we've got lots of resources on our ANZ UK blog page, in our info packs, in conversations with our team. We host regular webinars about more broadly teaching in the UK or living in the UK. PD, we've got an online learning management system, which is free for everyone to access who's moving to the UK. So you can do online PD before you get to the UK. And the London Early Years Foundation, an unbelievably supportive team, and they'll give you lots and lots of resources before you go to that link to PD. Yvonne, one more question. Sorry, Alyssa and Nick, I've got on a roll here. I've just taken these questions from everyone.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, apologies. And then Yvonne, how can I find accommodation such as share house if you're planning to go alone? Alyssa, how did you do it? I'll throw to you. Finding the comp. I know
yeah, it's great. Well, like Australia or New Zealand, there's multiple different apps and websites that you can look at. I use Spare Room, which is an app as well as online portal, I guess. That people just post their spare rooms, which kind of says in the title, right? There's Facebook pages, so Happy Week Spaces, things like that. I kind of knew where I was working, so I knew I would be working in Southeast or London Bridge area. So I just looked kind of on a tube line or something that was close and easy to get to. Yeah, I used Spare Room. I moved in with a bunch of randoms and absolutely love them to bits. And we have dinner together, things like that. So it is fun. But I'll just send through the link also at the blog on where to live in the UK. It gives you a nice little overview as well.
Awesome. And then just to touch on that point too, our ANZ UK Britbound chat, so the Facebook group, there's actually a chat function within that. If everyone is welcome to join that chat too, you can see people connecting to other ANZ UK educators with that question, looking for roommates, trying to find accommodation. It really is the #1 question for everyone, especially because of some of the rental challenges globally. So yeah, we want to do all we can to support and knowing that you still need to find it on with your own self, but we do give you lots of support because it is such an important question.
Great question, Tommy, in how we do the qualification transfer. So depending on your qualification will depend on the route of qualification. If you're Cert 3 diploma qualified, it will go through a website called ECDIS, but we will support you in that process. There's a step-by-step guide on kind of how we get you ready for that. If you are bachelor or above qualified, you'll be getting a qualified teacher status, which just applied through the government website. But that's something that we support you with. You're not going to be by yourself doing that qualification transfer. So that will all be helped out through us.
And Brooke also had a question too, just on the rate of pay. So if you're employed on a permanent contract through LEYF, which is the one of the major ones we're promoting, you would be employed directly through the London Early Years Foundation, and the salary band for that is between £24,000 to £26,000 per annum. And that would be as a starting rate for an overseas educator, such as people on the call. So that would be that band, Brooke. And then if you did decide you wanted to do casual work, Alyssa and the team can talk through the different casual rates that we have for overseas educators working in early years space. But amazing questions, everyone. I think, yeah, we've been thrown from every which direction, which is exceptional. Great work. So I'm still free to post any questions. But yeah, just wanted to give everyone a really big thank you for coming along to the webinar. We know it's sort of smack bang in the middle of dinner time. So hopefully everyone's got some nice things in the oven, or you've got Uber Eats on the way, whatever it is that you're doing. I know in Melbourne we're having some beautiful weather recently, even though it is dark now, but you could probably go out and have dinner outside in the backyard if you like. But we, really excited to see everyone on the call. The next step, as we mentioned before, will be us having a conversation, getting to learn more about your plans, understanding what your questions are, and then, tailoring our service to your own individual plans. So if anyone's interested, jump into that email that will come to follow up this week. And then the goal will just be to go through those steps, which we spoke about earlier. And then, spread the word as well. Like, if you know anyone in your network that wants to get work locally with ANZ UK or wants to move abroad, and the London Early Years Foundation, ANZ UK sounds interesting, and people might be interested, you might be that trailblazer in your friendship group or your network who books that one-way ticket, gets a job at LEYF, and then, the whole, community of friends that you have or people you network want to follow. So, absolutely amazing.
Sorry, I've just got a question for Brooke.
Yeah, you could probably, I didn't know off the top of my head, but you could probably answer that one.
Yeah, you're fine. So our in a day-to-day basis, it goes to an hourly pay because it depends on your hours you work. In nurseries, you might be only do a half day, you might do a full day. So that begins from £12 per hour in our nurseries. Depending on qualification, it will then go up. Hope that covers your question, Brooke.
Amazing, everyone.
And
also good. I think we might be questioned out. But if you have any more, please just take a note. We'll share the webinar recording so you can relive the magic at a later date. You'll get the slide back too. And Nick, myself and Alyssa, we're really, really excited to have conversations with you in the follow-up and then learn more about your plans and how we can assist your journey. Because being on the webinar shows you've got a bit of a bug and you're excited and you're interested to learn more. So that in itself is enough to get the ball rolling. So a huge thank you. Have an amazing day. It's a shorter week here in Oz and New Zealand. So look forward to the weekend ahead. And Alyssa and Nick, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
And yes, Taylor, you will get our emails. You'll get an email with all of us, Taylor. Sorry, I just got a question if we'll get our email. You will get the emails. Thanks all.
Amazing.
Bye.
See you later, everyone. Have a good day.